Welcome to Revenge Report. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let's dive in. The first thing I saw when I walked into the lodge was that my name wasn't even on the banner. It was Derek's company logo, twice. Then in small print, "Congratulations, Palmer family." Real specific. The kind of banner you get from a gas station printer. The room smelled like fried catfish and old diesel, and every guy in there looked like they'd just come from under a truck. I sat down in my pressed uniform, blazer over the top to keep things casual, like my mom asked. The patch on my sleeve still showed. Wildland Emergency Response Division. Certified lead. Newly graduated, top 3 in my class from the Forest Emergency Ops Academy. Not that anyone in this room gave a damn. My name's Jess Palmer. I'm 29. Born and raised in Pine Hollow, Arkansas. Same as this rusted-out mechanic lodge we're sitting in. Derek showed up in a button-down shirt, shades still on. Like he thought we were in Miami. Slapped hands with every guy in the place, including my dad. "Man, can't believe you're still in safety school," he said, dropping into the seat across from me. "Aren't you pushing papers for forest rangers or whatever?" Dad laughed, real loud from the gut. "Yeah, she's our little safety school girl," he said, not even glancing at me. "Probably got a certificate in fire prevention brochures." I didn't say a word, just kept cutting my cornbread. Quick note: before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. "I tell you what," Derek went on, smirking like he'd been saving this one. "If there's ever an emergency with a jammed copier, Jess'll be first on the scene." Even the old guys laughed at that. Not cruel, just like I wasn't even there. I didn't come here for applause. I came because Mom asked, said it was a proud moment for the family. Said Dad wanted to say something nice, but all I'd heard so far was jokes, forks scraped against plates. One guy started a toast, something about Derek's third shop opening in Little Rock. My name didn't come up. Then the regional fire marshal stood. No announcement, just calm, steady, like he didn't need a microphone. "Commander Palmer," he said, looking straight at me. "You'll lead BRAVO-4. The whole room froze. Someone's glass clinked against the edge of a plate, loud as a hammer. Dad's smirk dropped. Derek blinked. A guy near the wall, old engine chief, I think, straightened up in his seat. I stood, fixed my blazer. "Yes, sir." Nobody laughed. The marshal nodded, sat back down. Silence rolled through the lodge like a storm. One guy gave me a nod. Another whispered to his buddy, "That's BRAVO-4?" Dad stared down at his catfish. Derek had nothing to say. And just like that, the room wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine. After the lodge went quiet, I just sat back down, barely touched my food. That silence had taken me years to earn. We grew up in a 2-bedroom house behind Dad's auto garage, the kind of place where the laundry machine thudded against the wall all night, and the heater whined like it hated us. Grease-stained boots lined the back porch. The kitchen smelled like burned coffee and diesel even when no one was cooking. Dad built that garage himself. Palmer Diesel Repair. He didn't believe in shortcuts or sitting still. "You learn with your hands, or you don't learn at all," he'd say, tossing Derek a wrench like it was a trophy. Derek took to it fast, loud, confident, elbows deep in busted engines by the time he was 12. I was the quiet one. Not shy, just quiet. I liked maps, charts, how things connected. I'd sit in the corner of the garage office with a puzzle or a notebook, drawing road layouts and fake fire routes. No one ever asked what I was doing. Derek started drag racing in high school, got a Rust Bucket Nova running, and suddenly he was a local legend. Dad called him the Palmer boy who moves fast. I won a regional math competition once, first out of 8 schools. I came home holding the ribbon. Dad glanced at it once. "Nice. So you like numbers, huh?" Then he changed the subject to a carburetor Derek rebuilt. He wasn't mean, just didn't see me. In school, it was different. Teachers noticed. A counselor named Ms. Brady pulled me aside one day. "You ever think about wildfire operations?" she asked. I blinked. "Like forest fires?" "Yeah. The Forest Emergency Ops program has a track. Logistics, mapping, coordination. I think you'd kill it there." She handed me a folder full of brochures. I stuffed them deep into my backpack before I got home. No one asked why I was late that day, or why I started checking the mailbox before anyone else. One night, Dad cracked a beer and sat back in his recliner, greasy fingers still smudged with work. I was doing homework on the couch. "Derek'll make something of himself," he said out of nowhere. "Got the spark, got that leadership edge." He took a sip. "You'll be fine too. Maybe do office safety stuff. That's your speed." Organized types keep the rest of us from blowing ourselves up. I didn't look up, didn't argue. I just nodded and flipped the page in my textbook. You learn real young when it's better not to speak. But I kept that folder in my bottom drawer, went through every page, the maps, the logistics coursework, the application deadlines. When the prep program opened spots, I signed up. Did it all from the library computer at school. Didn't even list a home phone. The acceptance letter came in a plain envelope. I pulled it from the mailbox, shoved it into my backpack before anyone saw. Derek was bragging that night about installing turbo kits in a Mustang for some kid from Texarkana. Dad was beaming. I just went to my room, opened the letter, read it 3 times. I didn't tell a soul, not because I was scared they'd talk me out of it, because I already knew they wouldn't care. I packed up 3 days before the bus left, said I was going on a school trip. No one asked where. I didn't look back once when the bus pulled away from Pine Hollow. No goodbye note, no text, just me and a duffel bag full of borrowed gear, heading straight into southern Arizona with nothing but heat and silence waiting for me. The training site was a scorched-out piece of desert outside Yuma, wind howling like it was mad we showed up. First morning, they had us up at 4. No breakfast, no warm-up, just a 100-pound gear pack and a sand hill the size of a damn parking garage. I made it halfway before my legs locked up. My face hit the dirt so hard I tasted blood. Behind me, some guy snorted. "She'll be gone by Thursday." I didn't say anything, just rolled onto my back, sucked down a breath, and forced myself to sit up. My hands shook when I reached for the water bottle. The sun hadn't even come up yet. I drank, stood, started again. Didn't finish that day, or the next, but every morning I was out there before the whistle. Didn't speak, didn't joke, just climbed, collapsed, climbed again. By the 5th day, I made it to the top, threw up twice, didn't care. At night, I wrote letters to my dad in a spiral notebook I kept under my bunk. We did gear drills in a flash flood basin today. You would have laughed watching me eat it face first. I think Derek would crush the obstacle course. I'm still the slowest. Do you know how to wrap a pressure bandage for a heat burst? I do. I never mailed a single one. The instructors didn't notice me at first. I wasn't loud. I didn't carry myself like the other recruits. Ex-cops, ex-Marines, hotshot transfers. I was just the quiet girl in the back who didn't quit. But they started to nod when I passed gear inspections with no corrections, when I navigated course markers faster than some of the guys. One night, our section lead, a guy with a voice like crushed gravel, walked past me while I was refilling my canteen. "Quiet ones always survive longest," he muttered. Then he was gone. Nobody clapped when I finished my final physical. I didn't beat anyone's time, didn't break any record. I just made it, barely, with my boots soaked in sweat and my legs shaking so hard I had to lean on a railing. The certificate came in a manila envelope, no ceremony, just a staffer handing them out like cafeteria trays. I opened mine at my bunk. Forest Emergency Ops. Physical Qualification Certified. My name was spelled right. That was enough. I pinned it to the wall above my bed with a thumbtack I stole from the corkboard in the common area. No one in the room said anything. I didn't need them to. The night I packed up my bunk, I took the certificate down, folded it, and stuffed it deep in my duffel. The dorm light buzzed above me like it always did. Low, flickering, tired. And I left without saying a word. Deployment orders came through 2 days later. Support unit, Sierra East, just outside Reno. I didn't ask questions. I just got on the damn bus. It was late July and hot enough to make your skin itch before noon. The air smelled like smoke and salt and something sharp underneath. Panic, maybe. Our base camp sat in a dry riverbed with 3 portables and 2 tents. My role? Logistics desk. They didn't even pretend to hide it. "Paper girl," one of the engine guys muttered as I walked past. My job was tracking equipment drops, water hauls, crew rotations, comm channel maps, all the stuff that didn't bleed or burn. Nobody knew my name. They just handed me clipboards and walked off. If I flagged something, they'd skim it and toss it on the pile. But I paid attention. Quiet's good for that. You hear things no one else is listening for. 3 weeks in, we had a crew working near Panther Ridge, unstable ground, old slides from a storm the month before. I cross-checked their GPS coordinates and froze. They weren't where they were supposed to be. Their route showed them pushing into a shaded gully. Looked fine on paper, but the topography updates from drone scan 2 days earlier had red-zoned it. Someone logged the update wrong. I grabbed the comm. "Bravo Delta Crew, this is Sierra East Support. Redirect your entry path. Confirm reroute to Sector J7. Repeat, J7, do not enter K3. There was static, then confusion, then a pause. Copy that? J7 confirmed, redirecting. 30 minutes later, a landslide tore through K3 like a wrecking ball, boulders the size of pickups, tree trunks flipping like matchsticks. They would have been crushed. Nobody said my name over the radio. No announcement, no pat on the back. The next morning, I found a pair of scorched gloves sitting on my desk. No note, just ash around the seams. Big gloves, a field ops guy's, not mine. I knew what it meant. I tucked them into my duffel, right next to the folded certificate. A week later, I flew home for a 3-day break. At dinner, Mom made ham like she always did when I was around. Derek was going on about his new shop again, talking percentages and lease terms like he invented small business. Dad asked, "So what's the post now?" "Good admin work, right?" "Logistics coordination," I said, cutting into my ham. "Good for you. Staying out of the real fire," he said, smiling like he meant it. I nodded, chewed, swallowed. Didn't mention the gloves, or the landslide, or the fact that 5 men ate breakfast that morning because I didn't miss a line on a map. I just passed the gravy and carried the silence like a second pack. When I flew back to base after that dinner, I didn't unpack, just dropped my bag under the bunk and reported straight in. They moved me upstairs 2 weeks later, wildfire intel unit, mid-tier clearance. I didn't ask how it happened. Maybe someone read the logs. Maybe the gloves meant more than I thought. Either way, I kept my head down and got to work. The intel room wasn't glamorous. 4 desks, wall monitors, rotating weather feeds, and rows of burn maps that never stopped shifting. We tracked flare-ups, lightning strikes, fuel loads, wind shifts, any damn variable that could turn a spark into a funeral. Most of the team ran simulations and filed updates. I dug deeper. Oregon was heating up, late August, and a cluster of fires near Umpqua Ridge started kicking sideways. One blaze in particular, too far off grid, too clean in its ignition point, wrong pattern for lightning. I pulled wind data, looked at topography. The burn lines didn't match the terrain. Something was off. I built out the model anyway, marked it, highlighted the trend. Then I flagged it and sent it up the chain. The response came back fast. Too speculative, not enough to delay team routing. Proceed as planned? Bullshit. I walked the report to my section chief myself, eyes red from staring at burn maps all night. "You've got no physical confirmation," he said, not even looking up. "If I'm wrong," I said, "they waste a detour." He finally glanced up. "If I'm right," I told him, "they live." That bought me 2 minutes, then 5. Then the reroute went through. The ground team adjusted their path the next morning, pitched tents half a mile east of their original spot. By noon, one of their scouts radioed in what looked like an abandoned setup in the original zone, then cut out mid-transmission. They went in slow, found a full arson rig buried under pine, fuel canisters, dry accelerant, pressure wires. Someone had planned a burn trap. Would have caught the crew if they'd stayed the night. Nobody came to my desk. No one said thanks over comms. But the next day, a box showed up, small, unmarked. Inside, a single charred Forest Service pin, half melted at the edge. Paper note folded underneath. "You kept us alive." That was it. I slid the pin into the corner of my keyboard tray. Didn't tell anyone about it. When I called home that weekend, Mom put me on speaker. "Still doing that coordination work?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Still in response intel." Dad jumped in. "Good. Use your head, not your hands. Smarter that way." I didn't argue, just leaned back in the chair and stared at the burn map still glowing on my monitor. No one ever heard about the trap we missed. No headline, no story. But 4 guys flew home that week, and none of them knew my name. Didn't matter, I did. The house smelled like cinnamon rolls and turkey grease when I walked in. Same thin carpet, same knickknacks lining the kitchen shelves, same big wooden spoon and fork on the wall. Derek was already mid-story, standing like he was giving a TED Talk in front of the fridge. "So, I told the guy, if he doesn't lock in the price by Friday, I'll take the whole complex to the next buyer in Dallas." Didn't even blink? Mom clapped, proud as ever. Dad grinned like he'd raised a damn senator. I hung my jacket, nodded hello. Nobody asked where I came in from. The table was full: turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans, cranberries straight from the can. I sat at the far end next to the sliding glass door, same spot I always got. "Still doing that safety stuff?" Uncle Glenn asked, passing the rolls. I nodded. "Yeah, still in response coordination." He smiled like he didn't know what that meant but didn't want to admit it. Derek leaned back in his chair, toothpick already in his mouth. She's probably writing up evacuation handbooks or something. Real technical. Dad chuckled. Hey, that's all right. Derek's always been the leader type. You've got the head for documents, though. That one landed like a nail through the table. I didn't flinch, just cut my turkey. My niece, Ella, 9 years old, braces already, looked up from her plate. What kind of files do you deal with? I took a breath. The kind that keep trucks from burning. She blinked. Oh, then went back to her stuffing. Nobody else said anything. Derek started talking again, something about rezoning laws, interest rates, leasebacks. Dad nodded along like he was hearing war stories. I ate in silence, focused on the gravy, the bite of cranberry, the weight of the room. But inside, I didn't feel small. Not this time. 3 days after Thanksgiving, I was back at my station, staring at a stack of terrain sheets and sat feeds. The call came in just after midnight. Chemical fire east of Yosemite, wind-driven, fast as hell, already pushing through the back edge of 2 towns. Command dropped the data into our systems like a bomb. Evac coordination falls to Palmer, someone barked. I didn't respond, just slid my headset on and opened the topo files. The evac map showed 3 primary routes. One caught my eye, an old service road marked as open. But 2 weeks earlier, I'd flagged it during storm assessment. Narrow, slope cracked in 5 places. If the fire hit it head-on, that road would snap like dry spaghetti. I triple-checked the coordinates, ran a heat overlay, then keyed up the channel. Command, this is Palmer. Recommend pulling evac Route 2. Potential structural failure on Forest Ridge Pass. We should redirect south through 162. There was a pause. Negative, a voice came back. That's a delay we can't afford. We need that pass open. I didn't blink. If they go through Ridge Pass, and I'm right, they won't make it out. Silence. Then, what's your data point? I dumped the feed overlay, slope scan, wind vector. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't waver. If I'm wrong, I said, they waste 30 minutes. If I'm right, you save every person on that road. I could hear breathing on the line. Command copies. Reroute authorized. Adjust all units. The shift happened fast. Southbound movement. Convoy redirected. Support units pulled back. 90 minutes later, we lost Ridge Pass. Full collapse. The fire melted through the edge and took half the damn hillside with it. If they'd stayed on that road, they'd be gone. No celebration, no announcement. Just the confirmation pings coming through. All units safe. Evac complete. 0 casualties. At 0700, I was still at my desk, drinking cold coffee and reviewing after-action logs when the comms chief walked in. Commander wants to see you. I stood, heart doing that weird, tight thing. Thought maybe I was getting transferred again. Maybe even reassigned. The operations tent was hot and buzzing with noise. Radios blaring, paper everywhere. The fire response commander sat in the back corner, leaning over a scorched terrain model. He looked up when I walked in. You made that call last night? He asked. Yes, sir. You saved lives. I didn't say anything. He stood, walked around the table. We want you on BRAVO-4. I froze, thought I misheard. BRAVO-4 wasn't a desk. It wasn't logistics. It was boots on the damn line. Fire line elite. Sir, you've got the instincts, he said, and the grit. We don't need louder. We need sharper. You're sharp. I nodded, not fast, just steady. Yes, sir. He handed me a file. Inside was the badge. Silver. Real. BRAVO-4 crest burned into the bottom. The one I never thought I was allowed to want. I didn't need the invitation. I already knew what kind of night it was going to be. Same old mechanics lodge, same faded walls, same loose floorboard near the drink table, same exhaust-stained flag hanging crooked by the fireplace. I walked in wearing the same blazer as last time. Only this time, the real uniform was underneath. BRAVO-4 patch on the sleeve. Silver badge clipped above the chest pocket. Nobody noticed at first. Derek was already working the room, loud as ever. Handshakes, claps on the back, that overconfident smirk that somehow always fit. Dad stood near the buffet line, holding court with 2 guys I recognized from his shop. There's my girl, he said when he saw me. Back from paperwork camp? I smiled, small, polite. Something like that. Derek stepped in with a beer. Still the queen of safety pamphlets, huh? The men laughed. Not cruel, just casual, like they couldn't picture me being anything but what they'd already decided I was. Probably got a laminated badge for printer fire prevention, Dad added. The room chuckled again. A couple guys looked over at me, curious. One raised an eyebrow. I didn't say a word, didn't need to. Then I saw him, the regional fire marshal, standing near the stage, checking his watch. He stepped forward. No mic, no speech, just loud enough to cut through the noise. Attention! Forks paused midair. Chairs scraped. The room settled. Effective immediately, he said. Team Commander Palmer will take lead on BRAVO-4. Silence. A real one this time? Thick, heavy. I stood, pushed my chair back slow, straightened the blazer so the badge showed clear. Yes, sir. The marshal gave a single nod and sat. For a second, no one moved. Then I caught it, a quiet whisper near the back. She's team lead? Another guy nodded slowly. That's BRAVO-4? Derek's smirk vanished. His eyes landed on the badge and didn't move. Dad's mouth opened like he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. He just stared, like he didn't recognize me, like he wasn't sure how the room had flipped without warning. I didn't smile, didn't gloat, just let the silence hang. The lodge wasn't theirs anymore, it was mine. The ballroom in Denver smelled like burnt coffee and over-polished carpet. Round tables everywhere, white cloths, little name tags nobody read. The regional safety summit, government guys, contractors, field captains, city reps, everyone who'd ever written a policy or fought for one. I sat 2 rows from the front, blazer zipped, badge visible. I wasn't nervous, just ready. Derek was up first. Derek Palmer, Palmer Properties and Infrastructure, proud to represent Central Arkansas on disaster-proof residential builds. He had slides, graphics, even drone footage. Talked about structure reinforcement and ROI like he was pitching to a boardroom, not a fire response panel. Smooth delivery, confident tone, custom-tailored suit. The room clapped. Not wild applause, just polite. Respectable. He sat back down 1 row ahead of me, grinning like he'd already won something. Then the chair took the podium, adjusted the mic, scanned the crowd. Next, he said, Commander Jess Palmer of BRAVO-4, lead coordinator of the Yosemite containment operation. The room stilled. Every head turned. I stood, walked to the front, steady and sure. I didn't need a slideshow, just words. I looked out at 100 faces, some curious, some doubtful, some already leaning in. I cleared my throat once. That was it. Our work is built in minutes that never make headlines, I said. We don't post about them. We don't get awards for them. But those minutes decide who gets to go home. No one shifted. No coughs, no whispers. I kept going, calm, clean. That's our job. The quiet details, the fast calls, the maps that aren't wrong, the decisions nobody notices until they don't get someone killed. I paused. And we do it because we don't need the credit. We need the outcome. I nodded once, stepped back. For a second, nothing. Then the applause hit. Hard. People stood. Field guys, commanders, a few city reps, even one of the chairmen. Full standing ovation. I caught Derek's face in the crowd. Blank, no smirk, no lean, just stunned. Dad was sitting 2 rows behind him, hands folded, not clapping, not smiling, just staring straight ahead. Still, I walked off stage without looking back. Later, after the last panel ended, I checked my phone before heading to my hotel. 1 text from Dad. Didn't know. I do now. Proud of you. I stared at it for a few seconds, then locked the screen. I didn't need to reply. He finally saw it. That was enough. Thanksgiving rolled back around like it always did. Full table, same mismatched chairs, same paper napkins folded like they were fancy. But something was different. People didn't talk over me. Derek sat across from me this time, quieter than usual, still well-dressed, still clean-shaven. But the edge was gone. The food passed down like always. Turkey, potatoes, ham, green beans. I didn't have to reach twice. Ella looked up halfway through her second roll. Is it true you rerouted evacuees in Yosemite? Forks paused. I glanced over at her. She was serious, waiting. Yeah, I said. We got them out. She nodded like that was enough. Like it made sense to her, even if nobody else fully got it. Derek didn't say a thing. No smirk, no sideways jab. He just kept eating. Dad scooped mashed potatoes and passed them to me without a word. When I took the bowl, he looked up, eyes steady. Still leading Bravo? I nodded. Yeah. He gave the smallest nod back. Good, he said. That was it. No speech, no toast. Just that one word. After dinner, I stepped out to the porch with a glass of water and let the screen door click shut behind me. The air was cold, sharp in the lungs. That same porch light flickered like always, the bulb probably loose. I leaned against the rail and looked up. Thought about the gloves, the burned maps, that box with the melted pin. Thought about how long I'd carried silence like armor. The stars weren't brighter than before, just clearer. I smiled. I was never invisible. I was just waiting for the right fire to walk through.